Have you ever looked into your child's eyes and felt an inexplicable connection that goes beyond biology? Have you wondered why certain patterns repeat themselves between you and your children, or why some relationships feel so familiar yet challenging at the same time? What if everything you thought you knew about parent-child relationships was just the surface of something much deeper and more profound? Picture this. A mother struggles daily with her teenage son's rebellious nature. He challenges every rule, questions every decision, and seems determined to push her to her absolute limits. Traditional parenting advice feels useless, and she's exhausted from the constant conflict. But what if this isn't really about typical teenage behavior? What if this soul chose her as his mother specifically to teach her the lessons of patience, unconditional love, and letting go of control? Or consider the father who can't understand why his daughter triggers such intense emotions in him. Her tears feel like daggers to his heart. Her laughter fills him with inexplicable joy, and her very existence seems to challenge everything he thought he knew about himself. There's something about this relationship that goes deeper than genetics, deeper than shared experiences, deeper than anything conventional psychology can explain. Today, we're diving into one of the most transformative concepts in spiritual understanding. The idea that your child might actually be your karma from a past life. This isn't just about genetics or learned behaviors. This is about soul contracts, spiritual debts, and the incredible journey of consciousness that spans multiple lifetimes. We're talking about relationships that were destined before either soul ever took their first breath in this lifetime. Dr. Brian Weiss, a renowned psychiatrist and pioneer in past life regression therapy, has spent over 4 decades uncovering the mysteries of how our souls travel through time, carrying unresolved experiences from one life to another. Through thousands of regression sessions with patients from all walks of life, his groundbreaking work reveals something that might completely change how you see your relationship with your children. He's documented case after case where the most challenging parent-child dynamics suddenly make perfect sense when viewed through the lens of past life connections and karmic resolution. This isn't New Age fantasy or wishful thinking. Dr. Weiss was initially a skeptical traditional psychiatrist trained at Columbia University and Yale Medical School, who only came to these conclusions after years of rigorous documentation and evidence that couldn't be explained by conventional psychology. His patients began spontaneously recalling detailed past life memories that could be verified historically, and the healing that occurred when these connections were understood was undeniable. The transformation he witnessed in families was so profound that he dedicated his career to understanding and sharing this knowledge. If you feel drawn to this deeper understanding of spiritual connections, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Leave a comment saying, "I'm ready to evolve spiritually," and join our community of souls seeking truth and enlightenment. We're about to explore territory that might completely shift your understanding of family, relationships, and the very purpose of human connection. The relationship between parent and child has always been considered sacred across cultures and spiritual traditions. Ancient Hindu texts speak of family members as traveling companions on the soul's eternal journey through multiple incarnations. Buddhist teachings describe how consciousness deliberately chooses its circumstances for optimal learning and growth. Indigenous wisdom keepers around the world have long understood that children are old souls returning to complete, unfinished spiritual business with those they love most. But what most people don't realize is that this bond often extends far beyond the current lifetime. According to Dr. Weiss's extensive research through thousands of past life regression sessions, souls don't just randomly come together to form families. There's always a purpose, always unfinished business, always lessons that need to be learned or spiritual debts that need to be repaid. The universe operates with perfect intelligence, and nothing about family formation is left to chance. Dr. Weiss discovered this profound truth almost by accident. In the early 1980s, while treating a patient named Catherine using conventional psychiatric methods, she spontaneously began recalling what appeared to be detailed past life memories under hypnosis. Initially skeptical and even concerned about his professional reputation, Dr. Weiss was stunned when Catherine began sharing information about his own life that she couldn't possibly have known through normal means. She described his deceased father by name, knew intimate details about his family, and revealed private information about Dr. Weiss's infant son, who had died tragically from a rare heart defect. This experience launched Dr. Weiss into decades of research that would revolutionize how we understand human relationships. Through regression after regression with hundreds of patients, people began revealing intricate connections with family members that spanned multiple lifetimes. A demanding, critical mother was revealed to be a soul who had once been the patient's child, who died young in a previous life, returning to experience the full parent-child relationship that was cut short by tragedy. An estranged, emotionally distant father was discovered to be a former enemy from a past life, now incarnated as family, to work through forgiveness, understanding, and healing. When we speak of karma, we're talking about the universal law of cause and effect that operates seamlessly across lifetimes. Every action, every thought, every intention creates an energy that must eventually return to its source for resolution and learning. But karma isn't punishment or cosmic revenge, it's opportunity. It's the universe's intelligent system of spiritual education, giving souls chance after chance to heal, grow, and evolve together through love, forgiveness, and understanding. Consider for a moment the mathematical impossibility of family formation if it were truly random. The odds of your specific soul meeting your child's specific soul in this vast universe at exactly the right time and circumstances are astronomically small. Yet it happens billions of times throughout human history, suggesting an organizing intelligence and purposeful design far beyond mere coincidence. There's a reason why certain souls are drawn together, why they recognize each other instantly, why they can push each other's buttons with surgical precision. Dr. Weiss found that many of his patients would recall past lives where they had significant relationships with people who are now their children in this current lifetime. Sometimes they were siblings who were separated by war, disaster, or circumstances beyond their control, making sacred promises to find each other again. Sometimes they were close friends who shared deep spiritual bonds and chose to continue their journey together. Sometimes they were even enemies who recognized that only love and forgiveness could heal the wounds and hatred between them. The specific roles may change from lifetime to lifetime. Parent becomes child, child becomes parent, enemies become family, but the souls remain connected until the karmic lesson is complete and both have grown from the experience. Share in the comments an experience where you felt the presence of spiritual mentors or a deep transformation in your relationship with your child. Your story might be exactly what another soul needs to hear today, and sharing these experiences helps build a community of understanding and mutual support. This understanding begins to explain the inexplicable intensity of parent-child relationships. Why does your child's pain feel like your own pain, amplified 1,000 times? Why can your child trigger emotions in you that no one else can access? Why do some children seem to know exactly how to challenge their parents in the most precise ways possible, as if they have a roadmap to their deepest fears and insecurities? Because the connection runs much deeper than this lifetime. The emotional charge comes from unresolved energy between souls who have shared many experiences across time and space. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever noticed how your child seems to challenge you in very specific ways? How they push buttons you didn't even know you had? How they bring out both the best and worst aspects of your character? This isn't coincidence or bad luck. This is your soul's curriculum in action, carefully designed for maximum growth and healing. Your child is your most effective teacher because they know your soul intimately from other lifetimes together. One of the most fascinating aspects of this spiritual dynamic is how children often come to teach their parents rather than the other way around. A soul that was once wise and mature in a previous incarnation might choose to return as your child to help you learn patience, unconditional love, forgiveness, or compassion. The traditional parent-child hierarchy as we understand it in the physical world becomes beautifully irrelevant when we see it from the soul's eternal perspective. Age and physical development have nothing to do with spiritual wisdom and teaching ability. Dr. Weiss shares countless documented stories of parents who, through regression therapy, discovered that their most challenging child was actually helping them resolve deep karmic patterns that had been blocking their spiritual progress for lifetimes. Perhaps in a past life, They had been overly controlling, rigid, or judgmental, and now their child's rebellious nature and free spirit is forcing them to learn acceptance, flexibility, and unconditional love. What looks like defiance on the surface is actually spiritual medicine, perfectly calibrated to heal old wounds and open new levels of consciousness. The challenges we face with our children often mirror unresolved conflicts from previous lifetimes with surgical precision. A parent who struggles with their child's need for independence might discover through regression that they were once overly protective in a past life, leading to tragic consequences that they're still carrying guilt about. Now, the soul has returned to learn the delicate balance between love and freedom, protection and trust, guidance and letting go. Sometimes the karmic connection is more obvious and direct. A soul that abandoned their child in a previous lifetime might return to experience abandonment themselves, or to have the opportunity to be the devoted, present parent they couldn't be before. A parent who was absent due to war, work, or other circumstances might return as the child of their former child, experiencing what it feels like to need that presence and attention they once couldn't provide. The universe always provides opportunities for redemption, healing, and the completion of love that was interrupted. But this karmic relationship isn't always about correcting past mistakes or resolving negative experiences. Sometimes souls choose to come back together because they loved each other so deeply, and purely that they want to continue their spiritual journey side by side in a new configuration. A child might be a beloved spouse from a previous life, returning to experience love in a different form and to help both souls grow in new ways. The love is so strong that it transcends the physical form and relationship structure, finding new ways to express itself and deepen across lifetimes. If this perspective is opening your heart to new possibilities, show your appreciation with a like, so more souls can discover this enlightening message about spiritual connections and karmic relationships. Your engagement helps this wisdom reach other families who might be struggling to understand their complex dynamics. The timing of when souls choose to incarnate together is never random or accidental. Dr. Weiss explains that souls wait patiently in the spiritual realm for the perfect moment when all the conditions are aligned for maximum spiritual growth and learning. This might explain why some couples try for years to conceive, and then suddenly, when they've grown enough spiritually and emotionally, when their relationship has reached the right level of maturity and readiness, the perfect soul chooses to join their family. The soul waits for the optimal conditions for its own growth and for the lessons it needs to learn and teach. Understanding this concept can completely transform how parents respond to their children's behavior and challenges. Instead of seeing defiance as disrespect or personal attack, they begin to recognize it as spiritual teaching perfectly designed for their growth. Instead of feeling frustrated by their child's differences, quirks, or difficulties, they start to appreciate the unique gifts and lessons their soul has brought to help the entire family evolve. Every tantrum becomes a lesson in patience. Every act of rebellion becomes an opportunity to practice unconditional love. Every challenge becomes a chance to grow spiritually. This doesn't mean parents should become passive doormats or avoid setting healthy boundaries. The karmic relationship works both ways. Children are also here to learn from their parents, and part of that learning involves structure, guidance, and appropriate limits. The key is approaching the relationship with awareness, compassion, and recognition that both souls are here to help each other grow and evolve. It's a sacred partnership in consciousness, not a one-way street. Dr. Weiss emphasizes that these karmic connections help explain why some children are born into families that seem completely unsuited for them on the surface. A highly spiritual, sensitive child might choose to incarnate into a materialistic or emotionally closed family, because that's exactly the challenging environment needed to develop certain spiritual qualities like compassion, forgiveness, or inner strength. A gentle, artistic soul might choose more aggressive or practical parents to learn how to stand up for themselves and express their gifts in the world despite opposition. The evidence for these spiritual connections often shows up in unexpected and remarkable ways that can't be explained by conventional understanding. Children sometimes demonstrate knowledge, abilities, or talents they couldn't possibly have learned in their current lifetime. They might have inexplicable phobias related to past life traumas or unusual skills that seem to come from nowhere. Some children speak about places they've never been with startling accuracy, or describe people they've never met but who existed in their past lives. Many children retain conscious memories of previous lives, especially in their early years, before the veil of forgetting becomes complete and societal conditioning teaches them these memories aren't real. Dr. Weiss has documented cases where young children accurately describe their past life deaths, identify former family members in old photographs, and share detailed information about historical periods they couldn't know about through normal learning. Parents who become aware of these deeper spiritual connections often find that meditation, prayer, and quiet reflection help them access intuitive guidance about how to best support their child's unique spiritual journey. They begin to see behavior problems not as failures in parenting or character flaws, but as opportunities for mutual healing, growth, and the resolution of ancient patterns that have been playing out for lifetimes. Write in the comments, "Today I release old patterns and welcome the light of spiritual renewal in my relationship with my child." And let this affirmation open new channels of understanding and compassion in your family dynamic, creating space for healing and deeper connection. One of the most beautiful aspects of understanding karmic relationships with children is how it completely removes the ego from parenting. Parents stop taking their child's struggles, rebellions, or difficulties personally, and instead see them as part of a larger spiritual purpose that serves everyone involved. This shift in perspective often creates more harmony in the home because the emotional charge around conflicts diminishes. When you understand that your child's behavior is serving your spiritual growth, it becomes much easier to respond with patience and compassion instead of reactivity and frustration. The concept also helps parents understand why they might feel more naturally connected to one child than another, or why certain children trigger specific emotional responses that seem disproportionate to the situation. These reactions often point directly to the nature of the karmic relationship and the specific lessons both souls have agreed to explore together. Instead of feeling guilty about having different relationships with different children, parents can appreciate that each relationship serves a unique spiritual purpose. Dr. Weiss's research reveals that many soul groups travel together through multiple lifetimes, taking turns playing different roles: parent, child, sibling, friend, teacher, student. What matters isn't the specific role or relationship structure, but the opportunity for continued growth, healing, and the deepening of love. A soul might be your child in this lifetime, but could have been your wise teacher, your protective parent, or even your spiritual guide in a previous existence. The roles are temporary costumes. The love and learning are eternal. This understanding can be incredibly healing for parents who have lost children, whether through miscarriage, infant death, childhood illness, or tragic accidents. Dr. Weiss's work shows that these souls often choose shorter lifetimes intentionally, coming in specifically to deliver certain gifts, teach important lessons, or help resolve karmic debts before moving on to their next spiritual assignment. Their impact might be brief in human terms but profound and lasting in spiritual terms. The love shared and lessons learned continue beyond physical death, and the connection between parent and child remains strong across the veil. The karmic relationship between parent and child also explains why adoption often feels so divinely orchestrated and meant to be. Souls that need to be together will find a way to connect, whether through biological birth or through the spiritual calling that draws adoptive families together across great distances and obstacles. The love is real, the lessons are real, and the karma is real, regardless of genetics or blood relationships. What matters is the soul connection and the spiritual purpose being served. For parents struggling with difficult relationships with their children, understanding the karmic aspect can bring tremendous relief, hope, and a completely new perspective. It reframes the challenges as temporary spiritual work rather than permanent character flaws or parenting failures. Both parent and child are exactly where they need to be for their soul's evolution, playing out ancient dramas for the purpose of healing and growth. The difficulties are not punishments, but opportunities disguised as problems. The healing that can occur when families approach their relationships from this spiritual perspective is remarkable and often seems miraculous. Old resentments dissolve when seen as karmic balancing that serves everyone involved. Guilt and blame transform into compassion and understanding. Anger gives way to curiosity about the lessons being offered. The family becomes a sacred space for spiritual growth rather than a source of stress, conflict, and emotional pain. Comment below. I align myself with purposes of good and continue firmly on my journey of elevation. Share this video with someone who might need this spiritual insight about family connections and karmic relationships. Your sharing could be the catalyst for healing in another family struggling to understand their dynamics. Dr. Weiss teaches that once we complete our karmic lessons with someone, the relationship often becomes easier, more joyful, and filled with unconditional love. The hard work of healing and growth gives way to the celebration of spiritual achievement and the deep satisfaction of lessons learned and wisdom gained. This is why many parent-child relationships improve dramatically as both individuals mature spiritually and complete their karmic contracts with each other. As we near the end of our exploration today, it's important to remember that recognizing the karmic nature of parent-child relationships doesn't diminish the beauty, importance, and responsibility of the current lifetime connection. If anything, it makes it more precious because we understand how deliberately chosen and spiritually significant it is. These relationships are sacred contracts between souls who love each other enough to help each other grow, even when that growth requires challenging experiences. The next time you look into your child's eyes, remember that you're not just seeing your biological offspring. You're seeing a fellow soul who has chosen to walk this part of the eternal spiritual journey with you. You're seeing someone who loves you enough to help you grow and heal, even when that growth requires pushing your buttons and challenging your comfort zone. You're seeing someone brave enough to take on a difficult role for the sake of mutual evolution. You're seeing your karma, your teacher, your mirror, and your greatest opportunity for spiritual evolution all wrapped up in the beautiful, complex package of parent-child love. Honor that connection, nurture it with consciousness and compassion, and trust that whatever lessons you're meant to learn